welcome to another episode of Millionaires Are Made, the show built on the fundamental belief that every person you meet knows something that you don't. There's something to be learned from everyone, guys. Millionaires Are Made is where we believe that you can make yourself into a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. It's not just financial, it's physical, it's mental, it's social, spiritual, and even intellectual. We all are here to grow in every aspect we can, in the spirit of authenticity, and to remove as much bias and persuasion as possible. I don't even know who our guests are until about 15 minutes before the show, so they are all have their tips and everything ready to go, and we're going to learn something new from various places. We've got 2 people from the UK right now and 1 guest from New Jersey, so it should be a fun worldwide piece of advice. Audience, if you have questions, use the comments. We will ask them live on air. Feel free to ask anything you want for any of our guests. If you come up with, watch us on one of the restreams or I guess non-lives, replays, feel free to comment again. We'll get to those. You can also email, Facebook, message us, however you want. It's available, but we're here to answer any questions because we're here for you. It's all about sharing advice, sharing knowledge, and hopefully helping everyone grow. If you ever want to be a guest, please let us know. We do every topic you can think of in all aspects of health. So if you have something that you know a little bit about, feel free to let us know and we'll put you on the show. It's simple and it's easy, and we're always looking for guests from all walks of life. So please sign up, www.millionairesaremade. If you have a topic you would like to know more about, please let us know. I would love to, right now we have topics for the next 6 months, but we're going to run out at some point. So if there's anything that you want to learn about or know about, shoot us a message. We'd love to know and find the guests. We'll go do all the work, and then we will put them on for you. We also have some sponsors today. Our first sponsor is a man named Tony Lynch, who is got to be one of the mentally strongest people I've ever met. His story is crazy. His story is outrageous. His story might anger you a little bit. Go learn about it and go deal with it. He has a Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Link is coming up right now. Go listen to his podcast. If you're going through something, he can help. He has probably gone through it, talking about grief and how we deal with it and the healthy ways to move past it. Our other sponsor is, if you want fresh microgreens in your house, this is the InstaFarm. This is how easy it is. You take their seed blend, you pull it off, you put it here, and that's it. 7 days later, your product will be ready to eat. Microgreens are the most nutrient-packed substance on the planet. So if you want to be healthy as hell and literally you do nothing, you fill up this water tank once a week. It's the easiest thing ever, and I eat microgreens all day now. It grows way more than I can eat, so it's awesome. The seed packs cost $2. It's great. Link is down below. Thanks for sponsoring us. And without further ado, we're going to move into our episode. It is on social health, how to improve your health socially with others, develop healthy relationships, deep relationships, connections, which is one of the most important things on this planet. It's why humans are here, I believe, to connect, help, and grow, which is also the whole point of this show. Hint, hint. If you like what we do, you love hearing all these tips from around the world, and hopefully we're helping you out in your life with these daily challenges and knowledge and advice, please like, share, subscribe. Go to our YouTube, TikTok, comment, all that good stuff helps us keep going, helps us keep motivated to find more guests from more places so that we can share all the knowledge in the world and all become a little better. We are going to move on to our first guest, who does not have social media, so don't even try. His name is Hayden. Hayden,
G'day,
who
mate.
are you?
Mate, I'm first and foremost, I'm a father. I have a beautiful daughter named Philippa. She's 3 years old. And we had a son about 3 months ago. His name is Cassius.
Congrats.
Yeah,
you said Philippa is her name? What was her name?
Yeah, Philippa. Philippa.
Philippa and Cassius. Congrats. That's awesome. Very
Thank you
cool.
very much. They are the inspiration and love of my life. After that, I'm a husband. I'm married to an exceptional woman, Kirsty. She is an international trampoline coach, has taken many children to world champions. And lastly, I'm a mindset and performance coach, and I coach business owners and entrepreneurs to perform at their best.
Very cool. Okay. All right. A lot of delve in there. Wow. So you're going to be teaching your children correct ways to ghost or not ghost, I assume. And your wife is a trampoline coach.
She's retired now. We're looking at opening businesses on the side.
Good. Cool. As
Yeah.
you should. If you need tax help, our last episode was on taxes, so you can go watch that and get some tips there.
I'll certainly need that.
All right. Well, Hayden, let me ask you a very important question.
Yes.
I'm looking to improve my social health with ghosting. What kind of tip would you give me?
Don't do it. Do not ghost. Be direct. Tell people your thoughts. Be authentic. Never hide away. Never run away. It will be damaging to you, your confidence, your integrity.
What if it's just too hard to tell them how you feel and it's easier just to block them?
Look, how many times have you heard, don't take the easy path? Short-term pain, long-term gain. That's life. You pay now or you pay later, and always costs more if you pay later.
Short-term gain, long-term pain.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Very good. Okay. All right. So Hayden, let me ask you, what happened on your life journey? How did you learn this advice? Have you been the ghoster or ghosted?
Yes, exactly. I was the guy who ran away. Oh man, I've run away from so many things. And the problem is, physically I've removed myself, but mentally and emotionally I just start accumulating all this baggage. And the further I run, the heavier that baggage gets.
Ooh.
And I never learned to confront and deal with the issues that I'm running away from. So I become stronger in the sense that I'm good at meeting new people, making new friends. Then as soon as I think I've done something wrong or I haven't been good enough, boom, I'm gone again. It doesn't work. It's a life of hiding, and it's long term. It's not fun. Don't do it.
So it's hard to develop a deep, healthy connection to people if you're constantly running when you fuck up.
Yeah, and far more rewarding to have that. When you're direct and authentic and you express yourself fully, you're going to naturally attract the people who connect with you, those deeper connections. And you're going to deal with whatever's not working in your life. So you remove it, which leaves you free, burdenless, light, makes life easy. It seems harder in the short term. It is so much easier in the long term.
Man, I didn't realize this episode was going to be about me. Shit. All right.
Okay. Tell me more.
We've got about a minute left. Give us a prime example of you ghosting someone that turned out. Actually, tell us, how'd you meet your wife? You didn't ghost her, I assume, or maybe you did.
No, I've committed to my wife. Yeah, that's a whole nother. We could do a whole episode on that alone. I ghosted my family. I thought, I just can't get through to them. There's something wrong with them. They're not who I want them to be. They're not living to my expectations and my rules. And I left. I ended up in Canada with my wife, just thinking it's not going to work, and I don't know how to make it work. And so here I am in another country, familyless, doing it on our own. And when we had a child in Canada, we didn't realize until we came to England near Kirsty's family how challenging it is raising a child without people around to support you. And I those people who are doing the single parents out there, you are exceptional. I don't know how you do it. You impress me. Yeah. So I did it to my family. I goes to my family.
That's a good point, that ghosting doesn't necessarily just have to be Tinder relationship, whatever. I mean, you can ghost friends. You can ghost, ghost anyone. Shit, I ghost everyone every day. But we might have to talk about this later, but there is a difference between ghosting and cutting out toxicity or cutting out taking energy away from your life goals. So that might be a fine line that we might have to delve into in a future episode. But we'll focus just on ghosting now. So okay, great. Awesome. Thanks so much, Hayden. We're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you out in the round robin here in a bit.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I lied. That was the fourth question. My bad. Let's go in. Who are you, Mark?
So, as Hayden said, first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm a father to a 19-year-old autistic boy who's amazing. Okay. I'm also a husband to be. I've been with my partner for 10 years. We got engaged last year. She's
congrats! Amazing. Nice.
I'm a relationship coach, mindset coach, and a mindfulness teacher as well. So just do the lot really.
So a relationship coach, maybe you can help answer this question I'm trying to figure out. If I wanted to improve my social health, Mark, and I was using ghosting, afraid of ghosting, wanted to get rid of ghosting, what piece of advice would you give me?
So leveraging scarcity to avoid being ghosted. That's my tip.
Tell me more.
So most of us get into relationships, and I see, I primarily coach guys, and I see it a lot with my clients. Guys, technology makes it too easy to be too available too soon. So what happens is people get into they find somebody they like. The dating pool is huge, but actually the available matches are actually quite a small amount of people that you're going to feel something for. You're going to feel attraction and chemistry for. So as soon as people find that person that they feel attracted to, they feel some chemistry for, they go from 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. They're constantly available. They're constantly messaging back. Somebody, a woman sends you a message and you feel like you need to reply within, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. And constantly you're just back and forth. And you're never actually, getting some time for yourself. You're not actually putting your life priorities at the top. All your life priorities should be up here. And actually this person that you just right now have a tiny snapshot of should be kind of somewhere right down here at this point. Obviously you're attracted to them. It's exciting, but people that abandon their life priorities immediately for somebody else, it just demonstrates a really low value. And people start to see that, and they start to see that you're overly invested. And some guys even go from 0 to 100 in the neediness stakes as well. And one of the things about attraction is it needs distance. It needs some separateness. People watch Hollywood movies and they make this mistake that love and attraction are the same thing, but they're not. Love and attraction are two completely separate mechanisms. So love needs closeness. It needs togetherness, but attraction needs separateness. It needs you to be an independent person, two independent people in a relationship for that attraction to flourish, for that attraction to be maintained, even in even 30 years down the line in a relationship. And and this is why primarily these days I work with guys that are in long-term relationships to actually rebuild the passion, rebuild the love, rebuild the respect in those long-term relationships, because a lot of guys, me included in the past, lose their way in long-term relationships and just confuse the distinctions between love and desire. So
you've got about 45 seconds left to tell us what happened in your life journey and where did you learn this and why?
So I came out of a 16-year relationship like 10 years ago, and I was 38 years old, back in the dating pool, and just making a lot of mistakes and realizing I was so out of touch with life, and it was a steep learning curve, and that was the start of a huge personal growth journey for me that continues. And I digested all the kind of stuff that I could find on the topics. But what I was finding is especially a lot of the dating and relationship sort of guru guys, a lot of the stuff out there is so toxic. It's not authentic. It's kind of like sort of toxic masculinity, and and I was like, surely it's possible to still be a good guy, still be a nice guy, and be attractive to women, and that's where all my research went to psychology articles and university papers and all that kind of stuff, and figuring out this thing with scarcity and attraction, that actually if you not in a manipulative way, but if you insert some scarcity, if you take some distance, if you focus on yourself and keep that focus on yourself in a well-rounded way, then attraction will build without you needing to put too much effort in. You can take your foot off the gas a little bit and focus on yourself, and that attraction will naturally build because you're not constantly available.
Love it, Mark. That's some insightful knowledge there. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next guest, but we will bring you right back out here in a couple minutes. Hey, Danielle.
Hey.
Who are you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I am a single mother. I work with women to rewire their nervous systems for wealth. And so I help them get out of the trauma and the drama to make fuck you money. That's essentially who I am.
Get out of the trauma and the drama to
consistently make fuck you money. That's right. And so I've gone from sleeping on a massage table, homeless, poverty, food stamps as a single mom, to multi-six figures and growing. This year we are we're looking at a 7-figure year so far. So yeah, that's what I do, and I've done it by myself with 2 kids. So yeah, that's.
Get rid of the drama and the trauma to get fuck you money. I love it. Just so you know, my favorite quote about follow-up money or FU money. So, damn, I just ruined it. The secret, the FU money stands for follow-up. That's goddamn it.
Hey, there you
Sorry,
go.
Drew.
The fortune is in the follow-up. So.
Yeah, my buddy Drewby will kill me for stepping that up. I have to tell him I just completely buzz up. Okay, you only have like 3 more minutes, so let's get to it.
Okay.
If I wanted to improve my social health, develop better relationships, and be a better human to others, and I was worried about ghosting, what simple tip would you give me?
So, there's 2 that come to mind immediately. One is you need to work on your emotional intelligence, and the other is boundaries. Right? So whether you are the giver or the receiver of the ghosting, right, which I've been the receiver in my experience, the idea of boundaries of what do you want versus what you're willing and what you're unwilling to do, and getting really direct and honest about that is going to save a lot of heartache and pain for you as the ghoster, as the avoidant sort of attachment, and the and the receiver as maybe typically the anxious attacher, right? So those are like a match made in heaven, the anxious and the avoidant. And so it's really like getting clear on, like, as the receiver, what do you want? Which is, when we say what do we want, it's all about us. It's what we want, what's important to us, what's for our pleasure, what is supportive for for just really what we want, and no, not for anybody else. But when we say what are we willing to do, who are we willing to be, how are we willing to show up, there's a whole spectrum of I'm really excited and willing to do this, and all the way to I'm barely willing. And I think if people could just increase their emotional intelligence around who they are, what capacity they have to show up for someone else, for themselves, what they require, what they desire, what they need, then we wouldn't sort of be in this really toxic place of needing to field all of this, really, all the trauma that comes of it and the drama that comes of it. And it would really improve all parts of our lives. So that's sort of the simple answer.
Simple enough. It's so simple that you only have like 30 seconds to answer this question.
Go for it.
What happened on your life journey that taught you this advice?
Yeah, so obviously, right, like you teach what you need to learn. I experienced trauma, as everybody does, at a very young age. And that trauma was leading the way, because we all know our subconscious is the result of 95 to 98% of our results, right? It's driving the bus. It's how we drive to work or wherever we're going, and we're not paying attention, and we get in the parking lot where, how the heck did we get here? So the truth is that when you have experienced, like I have, trauma, right, you are going to seek out and choose the familiar, even if the familiar is not comfortable or serving you anymore, as an opportunity for you to redo it and heal it, right? And so if you've experienced any kind of abandonment, if your parents were not emotionally intelligent and available, neglect, like any of that kind of stuff, you will 100% seek out partnerships that will redo what you've experienced as an opportunity to grow. And so, yeah, so that's how I know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I already know we're going to go over time-wise. All right. I'm bringing everyone out. Let's do this, boys and girls. All right. Let's start with Hayden. Very quickly, refresh us of your tip.
Don't ghost. Be straight. Be authentic. Tell people your thoughts.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
100%. Yeah. I mean, just be vulnerable, have some integrity at the end of the day, and I think, I'm probably going to overstep a little bit here, because it kind of goes into a little bit of what Danielle's just said, which made me smile, to be honest, about boundaries, because boundaries is something that's huge for me. It's something that is a real baseline for a lot of the work that I do. And, I really just feel that, ghosting someone, it really points to a lack of management of your own personal boundaries. It points to not being able to assert yourself, not being able to say no, not being able to, actually just really properly manage your life. And I think, if you are ghosted by someone, it might be hurtful, but actually, ultimately, you may have dodged a bullet. You can't 100% say, because obviously you never fully know the full circumstances behind it. But actually, if somebody can't manage their own personal boundaries in that situation, they can't just let someone down gently, then what's it going to be like when you're trying to have the hard conversations in a relationship?
Danielle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea of integrity, right? To me, integrity means being intact with yourself, right? That sort of like, how can you be congruent and intact with yourself? And I think the idea of really getting clear on what do I want and what am I willing to would change everybody's idea for themselves. So that way, whether you're the ghoster or the ghostee, right? There's some just really clear connection to self-loyalty versus self-abandonment, right? Because I think both sides of the coin are abandoning themselves because of a lack of self-worth, right? It really comes from this feeling of, I'm not.
Nope.
All right, we might have seen that coming. Hopefully she'll bounce back. Until then, Mark, quickly refresh us what your tip is.
So using health,
screwing up this tech today. So that's it. I'm wrapping it. That we're putting a fork in it.
So, yeah,
all right, we're gonna go over Mark's tip. Mark, what was your tip?
Basically, leveraging healthy scarcity just to avoid being ghosted.
Healthy scarcity. Yeah. Danielle, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I can't hear anything.
Hayden, what are your thoughts on that?
Speaking of when you expanded before, Mark, the idea of putting yourself first, I think that's really important. Scheduling in that time to keep investing in yourself. And people do, they overlap selflessness and selfishness. And they think, well, if I put all this time into me, I'm being selfish. If you're not looking after your well-being and your health and your intelligence, your emotional well-being, then you won't be the best partner for other people, and you won't be attractive, and people will ghost you. So I'm with you on that one. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, thank you.
Mark, I think you said two things. So this episode, kind of, we were talking a lot about being the ghoster, like, Hayden, don't do it, setting yourself up. But if you're getting ghosted, Mark definitely said maybe you're dodging a bullet. And I would say, like, you're probably definitely dodging a bullet. If you're sending 3 or 4 texts that aren't responded within like a 48-hour period, that means that your return on energy is probably really low, and you should take that energy and invest it somewhere else. And that person is either A, has a lot of the issues. Sorry, running a podcast with issues is always fun. Essentially, if you're getting ghosted and it's happening often, you're going to have to sit down and rethink your boundaries, which is exactly what Mark said, and making sure that you have your stuff set and you're very clear and direct, authentic, like Hayden said. If you're getting ghosted a lot, though, often, and it's really stressing you out, you're going to have to look at yourself. I mean, you are attracting the wrong person. Danielle was talking about past bad partners trying to redo it. There's a lot of options there. And obviously talk to Mark, Hayden, or Danielle. If you really want to delve into deepness on it, on what's happening, you got 3 awesome coaches here that can help you out. As far as being the ghoster, this is actually a very entertaining and helpful episode for those of us that are ghosters, apparently. Mark. So I guess let's go over Danielle's tip. She's having technical difficulties, so she is apparently gone. Mark, go ahead and let's refresh. What was her tip? Let's talk about her. Do you remember her tip?
Yeah, about she mentioned boundaries. And I think boundaries are crucial. Strong, healthy personal boundaries are really crucial to being in a relationship. And without them, we just get in a mess. We don't know where we stand. Nobody else knows where they stand. And, it's one of the key crucial things that we really need to work on, just so that everybody knows what's expected of them, what's not expected of them, and so that people can assert themselves and say no. People can, not do things because they're trying to people please, because people pleasing always comes with conditions. It always comes with, sort of passive aggression. If the people pleaser doesn't get the response that they require, that generally people pleasers do it for validation. So I would say that boundaries absolutely crucial, and I always do a deep dive on boundaries with all my coaching clients, and it's one of the first things we do. One of the first things we tackle. Oh, looks like Austin's gone as well.
Losing everybody.
Everybody's having technical difficulties. So,
I'm always cautious when I hear someone mention boundaries. I think what's missed when people talk about them is I understand the healthy aspect of I need to set a limitation of what is acceptable and what's not in my life.
Yeah.
I need to know myself and what I'm capable of and willing to deal with. There's also the other side is, how is that boundary limiting me? And I think that's often missed. So people will say, my boundary is I won't deal with anyone who yells at me. I say, okay, well, what if your partner gets really upset with you and their way of expressing emotion is to raise their volume? If your boundary is never, then it's going to be difficult for you to be in a long-term relationship. So I always, there's a little, my spidey senses tingle when someone mentions boundaries. I'm like, okay, great. Set your rules, set your principles, who you are, how you're going to live. Perfect. And also be cautious. How could that boundary be limiting you in your relationships? Where is it holding back connection?
Yeah, I totally get that as well. And I think that's the real distinction is healthy boundaries, Sometimes I make the mistake myself and say strong boundaries rather than healthy boundaries. And strong boundaries are good, don't get me wrong, but actually there needs to be some wiggle room. There needs to be some compromise. But I also think, like if you are, using your example, if you are with somebody that just yells at you all the time and you've, set a boundary that's not acceptable for you and it carries on happening, then there needs to be consequences for breach boundaries,
Definitely, yeah.
So
one thing on that, Mark, I feel like everyone goes through a relationship where they relearn their boundaries or what their boundaries should be. Everyone in their past is like, oh man, like I had a good relationship. It was good. We grew. We still talk, whatever. But everyone's got that one. They're like, what the fuck? How did I let that happen? What's going on?
Yeah.
And so speaking of boundaries, I definitely had one of those. I was like, what is happening? Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
my team just goes, everyone's ghosting on a ghosting episode.
the funny thing
sorry about that.
Go on.
I live on a little island and the power went out, which means the internet went out. So I just had to go hotspot it.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, wow. You were quick.
Welcome to
well done.
Tiny Island.
Nice.
I don't know. It's not even raining. I don't know. They just turn the power off. I don't know how it fucking works. It's a tiny little island of 30,000 people. And the power doesn't work that well. But anyways, we do have to wrap it up. So we've got one last task to do, boys. We need to come up with a daily challenge. It takes less than 5 minutes a day, costs $0, and can be done by anyone from Kenya to Tasmania. That helps with social health and ghosting. Any thoughts?
Hayden?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I pose a challenge of reconnecting with someone you've ghosted.
Wow.
Ooh, I love that. Here's a question on that. We'd have to figure out how to tell if we ghosted them or not. I mean, I guess, have you not talked to them in 6 months? Is there 3 unread texts? But let's keep that on the back burner. I like that one. Mark, any ideas?
I would just say, take some daily time for yourself, no matter what your situation. Just, take some daily time in solitude, meditate, just be with yourself, and get to know yourself a bit better and get to, spend time in your own company rather than most people just can't bear to be alone and can't bear to be bored either, can't bear to not have something in their hand that they're doing. So, just take some daily time for yourself in solitude and just actually start to really learn who you are and how you tick and the fact that you don't need to be around people all the time and you don't need to be around tech all the time.
Hayden, you said you had a couple other ideas?
The other one would be reach out to someone who ghosted you.
Well,
oh, we lost him again.
What if they're still ghosting you and they just ignore it again? Oh my god. Hayden, what if they just don't ignore you again and they don't respond to you?
Yeah, I know. And that, I would say then have a look at what you make that mean about yourself or about people. If you make it mean you're not good enough or not worthy, I'd be interested, what's that little voice saying about you in the background when someone ghosts you? And then take that thought and just throw it out. It's not true. Set yourself free from it.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons that someone could ghost too. I mean, obviously, they're very situational, but I mean, who knows what they're going through? Maybe they had a death. Maybe they had, maybe they're sick. Maybe they just don't want to tell. I mean, there's a billion reasons. You never know what's going on in someone else's life. Obviously, ghosting someone is a not positive way to deal with that. But just because you get ghosted doesn't mean that they did it intentionally to them. They could have something in their life that just made them shut down, not want to be social, not want to pursue relationships. It could be something that they're working through that they just took out on you. Misdirected hostility, misdirected sadness. I mean, there's a billion reasons. I'm not trying to forgive ghosting, but I am trying to say that if you are the ghostee, that it's not necessarily, it's almost never your fault, I would say. I mean, unless you did do something intentional to hurt that person, then maybe you deserve it. But most times if someone's ghosting you, it's probably something going on in their own life, and they just don't either have the balls or the boundaries or the authenticity to tell you, which is exactly what Mark was talking about, and you as well, Hayden. So daily challenge. Is there something you guys want to settle on? Less than 5 minutes a day, $0. Maybe publicly post or publicly write down somewhere a boundary of yours. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It can be, family like Hayden or friendships as well. Maybe we just sit down and think for 5 minutes and think of a boundary that we just don't allow.
I'd love people
work on the boundaries, just spend
set a boundary a day,
working,
clarify a boundary a day,
and actively managing your boundaries. You know, even if that's making corrections where you feel like you've overstepped your boundaries, you know, but actually, you know, actively setting aside 5 minutes a day to just manage them and figure out if you're doing a good job or if maybe you need to make some tweaks somewhere.
Yeah, I like that. And as Hayden said, you know, I like the reaching out to someone you ghosted, maybe apologizing if you really got some balls. I just don't know if it's going to be simple enough to figure out who you've ghosted. I'm sure there's people I've ghosted, but like, do I need to go through all my texts and find where they've messaged me like 3 times or more? Like, how do we determine a ghost?
Yeah.
And what's a simple way under 5 minutes to find out if you ghosted someone?
Go through.
That's the tough part with that.
Think about someone you haven't spoken to for, if we set a period of time, and then call them.
I like calling someone you haven't talked to maybe in the last 6 months.
I mean, do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think everybody, you know, do you think most people realize they're actually ghosting, or do you think that it's just a knee-jerk reaction? Because I think sometimes I kind of feel like ghosting, as much as it's not something that a healthy person necessarily does, it points to them feeling like the interactions they're having aren't quality interactions. They're not exciting. They're not, you know, they're not.
Yeah. And some people too, we will justify and explain our ghosting. Like, oh, I'm just too busy. Oh, we just drifted apart. Oh, we just had different views on something. You have this great relationship, and then all of a sudden it ends. You know, like ghosting.
And part of that's just growing. I mean, Go ahead.
It doesn't have to be a malicious in action as well. It can be, you know, just as life happens. They can be ghosting as well.
Yeah, and so I don't know how we want to define that, but I mean, there is like, you know, like, hey, like, I mean, you could even have friend ADD. Like I have probably like 1,500 unread text messages in my phone right now. And like sometimes when I have like an hour, I'll try to like go through and knock as many out, or like Facebook Messenger. There's probably another like 300, and I try to like go through them. But I mean, sometimes it straight up just gets boggled down. And like sometimes people are I'll go to text someone, and I'm like, oh shit, I should go hit them up. And I'll be like, oh wow, there's 300 messages. Like, hey, sorry, just got these. Here's your answers a month and a half later. Wow. And so I don't know if I would call that ghosting or whatever. I mean, it's 2024, so I don't really have any answer for it. It's not good, but I also can't. My phone's on Do Not Disturb. It's been that way for probably 10 years. I can't be attached to my phone like that. But I also kind of like the idea of finding someone that you know ghosted you, or that you feel ghosted you, and just texting them like, fuck you.
They probably won't respond to fuck then, you know?
Go for it. It's your
I think I will get them to respond. After like 3 months, they just be like, what the hell?
That would be funny.
Yeah, I think so.
Cue all the people that know Aiden that are going to just text him fuck you in a minute from when he used to know people.
Or even better, you just send them a link to this episode. Like, hey, you ghosted me. Hey, here's a link. Hayden and Mark said you don't have boundaries and you have problems. Listen to them.
That sounds great too.
All right, so I think in all reality, for our challenge, I think if you don't want to do it publicly, I think at least like writing down a boundary in a relationship you have would be something healthy for both sides of the ghosting. Yeah. You know, if you're the ghoster, you know, maybe your boundary is like, I need this and I need to communicate it better, something like that. And then, you know, there's a ghostee. You can be like, hey, after two texts in 48 hours, my new boundary is I just stop responding and move on with my life. You know, I think that's a healthy way to deal with social health. And I mean, boundaries are important everywhere. So being able to focus on that is good. And then if you want to text fuck you to someone that ghosts you, I fully support that. I want to see something that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say as a ghoster, I don't know. We're walking a fine line here. What is ghosting? What is too busy? What is personal, you know, grief and sadness? I mean, there's things that can happen in a life that
we lose him again. He's ghosting us, just like that.
Make me like not even look at my text for like 3 or 4 days. So it's hard to. Insane. All right, time to end this episode. We have our challenge. All right, everyone. Oh, man, it's been 40 minutes. I knew this one was going to run over because ghosting is such a hot topic right now and such an important thing. Hayden, Mark, thank you so fucking much for coming out and having great connections.
Thank you very much.
And your valuable insight was amazing.
He'll be back. He'll miss us.
I think maybe not.
Well, I think I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you to everyone for listening. Lovely to meet you, Mark. I'm
Nice
sure
to
we'll
meet you
chat
too.
after.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm going to get going.
Take it easy, man. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.